So there's a lot going on today and this week. I think you know that I like using the reminders in our Soul Matters packet about events that are happening in the world and all around. This week, tomorrow, will be Freedom to Marry Day. In honor of Black History Month, we might note that tomorrow also will be the anniversary of the passage of the Fugitive Slave Act in 1793. Darwin Day is tomorrow, celebrating Charles Darwin and the intellectual bravery, perpetual curiosity, and scientific thinking. So there's something you might think about tomorrow. Mardi Gras is, of course, Tuesday, one of my favorite days of the year, and that happens just before Ash Wednesday, which also happens to be Valentine's Day this year, and it also is the birthday of Frederick Douglass, born on February 14th. Today is Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk Day. So that's how we chose to frame this service. Don't Cry Over Spilt Milk Day promotes a positive attitude even when things might not be going your way. It's a day for looking at the bright side of things and then carrying that feeling with you every day after. Do not worry, do not stress over the little things. Life is too short to let the little things bother us. So we're actually going to ignore that too, and we're going to cry, we're going to whine, we're going to do all kinds of stuff here today. Oh, yeah, and there's a complaint right away. Hi, guys. I think that now please center yourselves for worship as Emma calls us in. Please pay attention to your announcements. There are all kinds of things happening here at this church as well. So, Emma?
Good morning. I've been thinking a lot in my life lately about play and playfulness, and this feels like a good time to talk about that as we're going to do some goofy things today. So often my own attention and focus gets drawn to the pain in the world and to the things that are hard, and subsequently I think a lot about what my role could be in tending that, tending what's hurting and tending what needs support. But this can really make me feel like that. Can really make me feel constricted and stuck and rigid in my own creativity and in my own being when I focus so much on what's hurting. And it's like a river in between two concrete banks. That was the image that came. It's like I have all this creative energy. I want to help. I want to do things. But if I only focus on doing things that might make a difference or that might be of service, there's a certain constriction there. There's a certain limitation that I'm putting even on myself. And in my own life, play seems to be an antidote for that. It seems to be a way to get that concrete out and to help the river be more fluid. So in honor of play, I wrote a little thank you poem to play that I'm going to read to call us in. Thank you, play, for keeping our flow of creativity open so that we are resourced and equipped to face the challenges of the world with innovation and imagination. Thank you, play, for helping to soothe our weary nervous systems through laughter, joy, and levity, so that we can face the pain in the world with courage and capacity. Thank you, play, for connecting us deeply to each other through shared language and resonance, so that we can move through the world with community and connection. Thank you, play, for helping expand our capacity to hold paradox, to see the capacity of each moment to hold grief and joy, levity and pain, so that we can face challenges with resilience and open-heartedness. And thank you, play, for connecting us to the children around us and within us who have so much wisdom to share when we listen. And then Molly, if you want to come, we'll light the chalice next. Can join me in these words. May this flame kindle within us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community.
Let's sing together. Hymn number 188 in your hymnals or here on the wall. Come, come, whoever you are. Please rise in body or spirit. We'll probably sing through this. Yeah, we got enough people. Let's do it as a round. We'll sing through this once, and then we'll do the round. We'll sing through it a couple of times and close it off. Okay?
Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, let it come. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, worshiper, lover of believing. Ours is no caravan, wherever you stand. Wanderer, yes, we are lover of believing. Ours is no
Each week we share pieces of our individual lives, joys and sorrows, milestones, things that are on our minds. If you have something to share, I would invite you to come forward now. Tell us your name. Tell us what's on your mind. Take a stone from the bowl, and when you are finished, place the stone in the bowl with the water to let the ripples carry your concern out to the wider community.
Good morning, I'm Heidi, and I'm really joyful this morning because my granddaughter Sophie is here with me, and Sophie always makes me happy. We have so much fun together.
I have a joy, which is I got to go to a concert with my brother on Friday in Fort Atkinson, and we saw someone named Claudia Schmidt, who is a performer who's been playing and singing for 50 years, and I was just so touched by getting to watch, and one of the songs she sang was a musical rendition of this quote that I really loved, and I'm going to try to remember it and say it right now. Life is short. We don't have very much time to gladden the hearts of those we travel with. So be swift to love and make haste to be kind.
My joy is that I've been selling so many cookies, but I'm not selling enough to get 200 cookies sold. So please help me. And also, wait, tomorrow's Darwin Day?
Tomorrow is Darwin Day.
We have a lizard at school named Darwin, after the scientist Darwin. So, excited to do that. It's cool.
Hello, I'm Sally, and my joy is that my dad is going to turn 90 and we're having a big party for him. And he moved from Illinois to Wisconsin, so he's closer to his kids.
Hi, my name is Isabel, and I have a joy. On Friday, we had a big party and celebration for Mardi Gras. It was really fun.
So, Emma, I don't usually do this, but Claudia Schmidt was playing at a coffee house when Mary and I first met. We worked at this coffee house as kind of support staff. Claudia Schmidt was one of the artists who regularly attended. There was also with your recollection, she sang this little ditty, which is sort of a musical joke. It goes, foolish, incredibly foolish, foolish, incredibly foolish, foolish, incredibly foolish, dum, 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 dum. That's going to fit with what we're talking about today. You will see. I'll place one last stone for all of those joys and sorrows that remain unspoken, but on our hearts and minds. Let's sing Walking with You. Thank you.
Walking, walking with you, walking with you is our prayer.
So I have a story. We're continuing the series that I restarted last week with Those Darn Squirrels. The second book in the series is Those Darn Squirrels and the Cat Next Door. Old Man Fuquire lived on the edge of the forest just outside of town. He was a terrible grump, and in the wintertime, he was even grumpier. Whenever it snowed, he would shut his eyes tight and think of summer. He missed sunshine, suntan lotion, and weenie roasts. But most of all, he missed the birds who flew south when it got cold. During the long, lonely winters, the only critters left in Fuquire's backyard were squirrels. Now, not many people know this, but squirrels are the champions of the forest. They are craftier than beavers, smarter than foxes, and swifter than rabbits. They are also full of mischief. When it got too cold outside, the squirrels would drop in through Fuquire's mail slot and visit him at home. They'd warm themselves by the fire and finish the old man's crossword puzzles. When Fuquire woke up, he'd chase them out with a broom, then shake his old man fist and yell, "Those darn squirrels!" Old man Fuquire thought spring would never come, but eventually the forest bloomed and the birds returned from their winter vacation. Whirlybirds chomped on tumbleberries, bongabirds snacked on honey snaps, and the flugelbird ate farfel seeds until he got so full he had to lie down. Fuquire danced through the yard with delight. He set up his easel and brushes, and then he painted the birds till he got blisters on his fingers. Tired and happy, the old man went inside for a quiet afternoon snack. Suddenly, kaboom! Old man Fuquire spilled cottage cheese all over his suspenders. Kablam! The flugelbird fell out of his nest. Kablooey! The squirrels had to restart their annual chess tournament. The noise was coming from the house across the stream. It was the sound of a small woman unloading enormous crates and moving in. Fuquire's new neighbor was little old lady Who, the town baker. The only thing sweeter than the pies Who baked was the little old lady herself. Everyone in town loved her, but no one could stand her cat. Muffins. He was a real jerk. Who didn't see things that way? She thought Muffins was a cuddly honey bunny. But after the infamous poodle incident, she decided to move to the forest so that her cat could make some new friends. After unpacking her crates, little old lady Who baked a tumbleberry pie. Then she and Muffins went to say hello to their new neighbor. Fouquire despised conversation, so he hid behind the drapes. The squirrels were scared of the cat, so they hid inside the drain pipes. The birds weren't sure why everyone was hiding, but they stuffed themselves down the chimney just to be safe. Eventually, Who got tired of waiting for Fouquire to answer the door. She walked around the front, pushed the pie through the mail slot, and went home. Normally, old man Fouquire hated pie, but this one smelled delicious. He took a deep whiff and closed his eyes. When he opened them, the squirrels were licking the plate clean. "Those darn squirrels," shouted Fouquire. Full and happy, the squirrels tumbled from the house, where Muffins ambushed them. The dastardly cat grabbed one squirrel and gave him a wet willy. He snatched another one and gave her a noogie. And then he tied two squirrels' tails together. Luckily, little old lady Who returned before Muffins could do more. She scooped him up and scratched him under the chin. "Come now, Snookums," she cooed. "It's time for dinner. You can play with your new friends another day." The next morning, Muffins burst into the yard, terrifying the birds and interrupting old man Fouquire's painting. Then the sneaky cat pounced on an unsuspecting group of squirrels and gave them all wedgies. Not an easy thing to do, because generally squirrels do not wear underpants. The squirrels were furious, the birds flew up to the treetops and refused to come down, and old man Fouquire was so upset he wrote a letter to the mayor to complain about his new neighbor. That night, the squirrels held a meeting to figure out what to do about the cat next door. They ate cheese puffs and drank ginger ale to help them think. Finally, they had it, the perfect plan. When Muffins came over the next day, the birds were feeding peacefully beneath a tree. A wicked smile came over the cat's fluffy face. He wriggled his haunches and launched himself through the air. The frightened birds swooped into the sky, yanking the strings the squirrels had tied to their tail feathers. The strings sprang the trap, and the cat was doused with a gallon of freezing cold water. Muffins let out a furious yowl. Old man Fouquire ran outside when he heard the terrible noise. "Great googly moogly," he exclaimed. "That pathetic wretch is no bigger than a squirrel." It was true. Underneath all his fluff and fuzz, Muffins was nothing but a skinny malink. He lowered his head in embarrassment and sloshed his way home as fast as he could. The squirrels' plan had worked perfectly. They gave each other high fives. The baba bird snickered, the yabba birds chuckled, and the flugel bird enjoyed a hearty guffaw. Fouquire snapped his suspenders with delight. "Those darn squirrels," he said fondly. Old man Fouquire never warmed up to his new neighbors. He was a grump, after all. But little old lady Who became quite good chums with the birds and the squirrels. Each Saturday when the bakery closed, she brought all the unsold cakes and pies and cookies home. She set them out on her picnic table, and everyone gathered for a delicious, fun-filled feast. Everyone except the cat next door, who refused to leave the house ever again. That's my story. Children can go out with Sarah and Lily now, I think, for classes. Yep, let's sing them out.
Bless you
Take a few moments to join me in some quiet reflection, meditation, prayer. Last week, in honor of Black History Month, I began a short practice of lifting up a book from our library. There are half a dozen of them that have been pulled from the anti-racism section and placed downstairs on a shelf there that highlights our social justice work. Today I want to lift up a book titled The History of White People by Nell Irvin Painter. I came upon this book when I was in seminary, and it talks about the rise of what we have come to know as white supremacy culture and the idea of whiteness in our culture, which contrasts with the idea of blackness, both of them artificial constructions. This one caught my attention particularly because I learned that Painter does an admirable job of tearing apart Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is and was a hero of mine. And so when I heard that she had taken a different turn on Emerson, I had to get the book. A short story, when I first began preaching and I had read this book, I preached at a little town called Wilmer, Minnesota, a small fellowship in a lovely church and lovely people who are a fellowship without a called minister. And I used this book then to really excoriate Emerson. And after the service was over, learned something. So you know how this pulpit here, we believe, was used by Olympia Brown when she preached here many, many, many years ago. I came to find out that Ralph Waldo Emerson's pulpit was the one that I was preaching from at that church in Wilmer. So perhaps he turned over, I don't know. A poem from Mark Nepo. Beyond all the pain that has taught me, the soft well at the base of time has opened, and life touching me there has turned me into a flower that prays for rain. Now I understand, to blossom is to pray, to wilt and shed is to pray, to turn to mulch is to pray, to stretch in the dark is to pray. To break surface after great months of ice is to pray, and to squeeze love up the stalky center toward the sky with only dreams of color is to pray. And finally, to unfold again as if never before is to be the prayer. Each week we take up an offering. It is part of what it takes to sustain this community and our sense of togetherness. Please give generously. Alex will entertain us. like pouring slowly or whatever, and I've decided, no, it's just the coffee pot. And I could get a new coffee pot, but I don't.
I got these curtains from St. Vinny's, and I like to sometimes mix different patterns with other ones that match. And so I have 2 rooms in my house where the curtains are about this much different length, so that when I close the windows, there's this like really ugly difference, but I'm too lazy to sew the hem, so I just always cringe when I see it.
When I was a kid, I never liked meringue or Shawn tart. I don't know what I was missing.
Back in college, I had the opportunity to study abroad in New Zealand, and I didn't take it.
And along those lines, this summer I turned 20. I picked apples in Gay's Mills. It was a halcyon summer, living in this little migrant cabin, eating brown rice and hanging out with a bunch of itinerant hippies. And at the end of the summer, there were 3 people, a man and 2 women, who invited me to get into their Volkswagen and go west with them, which is where I was going. I had dropped out of college and I was looking for work and I was planning to go west. But I had in my head that I wanted to bring my saxophone, which was a really bad idea. And it caused me to go home to my parents' house for a few days before lighting out, and a whole lot of other things have spun out from there, leading up to now, of course. But I have always wondered what it would have been like had I gotten in that car.
I have a pair of boots that I got also from St. Vinny's. I love St. Vinny's. And the lining is not attached to the bottom, so every time I take them off, it gets all scrunched and I have to reset them.
All stocking hats right up.
So I think you're getting the gist. What we'd love is to invite you all in the spirit of playfulness to also come cry over spilt milk with us. If you have a meaningless problem or a grievance or a what if that you'd like to come up and honor, that is the invitation, and we'd love you to participate so that we don't have to keep talking.
Spilled milk is all about don't sweat the small stuff, or, what ifs, as Emma says, maybes, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Come on up.
So one came to mind right away. When I was getting ready for work when Adia was little, do you know the ice drinks that are like raspberry flavored? They're super red, right? So I was getting ready for work and I had like 3 seconds to get out the door, and I believe that I was like taking her somewhere with me. Like she had to go with me. We had to be a unit. And she dropped the ice drink while it was open. The cap was off in our kitchen, and it sprayed up, and there was red droplets all over the kitchen right when we were about to walk out the door. And I really did want to cry at that moment, and just like wiped up as much as I could and said, well, we'll finish it later.
I'm a scientist, but I always forget that nanometers are smaller, or that nano is smaller than micro, because, micro's the most micro, right? It's the most, I don't know.
That's a nano problem.
Well, I've got one that'll beat Meg's. Susan and I like to drink pomegranate juice. And we one time we bought a bottle. It was about this big. It was a plastic bottle. The brand name was Naked. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But so anyway, I got up one morning and I was going to open up this pomegranate juice, and it was really hard to get open. And when it finally, I started to get the top to move, the top just shot off, and hit the ceiling, and the pomegranate juice just sprayed everywhere. And our whole kitchen was covered in red, not just the floor, everything. We even went into our dining room, which is in one side, and the family room in the other side, put a hole in the ceiling. So that was a lot of fun to clean up.
You can see we're doing this like we do water communion, right? I was just thinking
So I have many, but I'll share two. I have a drawer in my kitchen that I call the Tupperware drawer. And they're stacked succinctly and within each other, and the covers are all this. And I'll bring food to mom and bring food home. And so if a Tupperware doesn't fit in this drawer, I have to end up taking out all the Tupperware and reorganizing the lids. And if it doesn't fit, it gets put in like the naughty area of my kitchen. Like this corner where I just shove stuff because I don't know what to do with it because it's such a small kitchen. And the second one is singing songs in a round.
What came to mind for me was that I painted my house this summer, the front, and I didn't just paint it one time. I painted it about at least 5 times because I didn't like the color. I just 15 different color samples, different orders of the color. Finally, you can't tell because they blend in the distance, but it's 12 colors. It doesn't look like 12 colors, but it's 12 colors.
I have to go after John because his house looks lovely. It was worth it. So I have a couple of stories. Paul and I we love red, don't we, Paul? Red. Okay, so Paul was making some wine, and it was beetroot wine, and he had it brewing right next to the white wall. And one day it just exploded, and I had a red wall. And of course, he did it. It was even worse when he did the beer because when he wanted to bottle the beer, he didn't have enough small bottles, so he put some of it in a large one, and he said, okay, if I need 1 teaspoon of sugar for a small bottle, I'll need X number more for the large bottle. So we left to go and visit his parents over Christmas, and when we came back, the bottle had exploded because there was too much pressure in it. So we had beer absolutely everywhere. The one I actually want to talk about was my daughter, who was a baby. She was about 18 months, and I put her down for a nap. We had just moved into this house. It was an absolute disaster. Everything was awful. I went out into what I call the back 40, and I was doing stuff back there, and suddenly I had this funny feeling that something wasn't right, and I ran back to the house, and I could see water running through the ceiling into our kitchen. And I ran upstairs, and my daughter had got herself out of her crib. She had gone into the bathroom, and she had climbed onto the counter, and she had turned the tap on, but she had managed to get something in the sink so that it blocked the sink. So the water started coming up over the top of the sink. She had turned on the hot water. So she's dancing in the hot water, trying to get her feet out of the hot water. And meanwhile, the water's gone into all the drawers, everything else, it's gone down to the kitchen, the ceiling is coming down. But anyway, I think I need a lot for that one.
Right after I was pregnant with my second child, I was working at a hospital as a recruiter, and I was recruiting nurses at the junior college. And back in the day, we used to wear slips under dresses. Remember that? I had a dress on, and I had my maternity slip on. And I was actively engaging with all the nursing students, and all of a sudden, my slip fell down to the ground in front of everybody. And I was like, and trying to shove my slip under the table. It was terrifying.
When we were preparing our former house to sell, my husband, who taught oil painting, came in later in the evening, like 7 or something after work, and he had oil paint on his shoe, and we had just cleaned the carpet. He walked through the living room unknowingly on this light-colored carpet, green oil paint. We spent like almost all night trying to get that sucker clean, but we did. You know, it was just awful. It was just awful.
Bring the tape, my friend. Some of you know that I went to India late last year. A few of you know that I tried to share what came back with me from India, which was a month's worth of sharing. A very few of you know that we used to have a process in this church called word services. And I wrote a word service a long time ago about the word expectation. I had some expectations of what would happen in India. I had some expectations of what would happen when I tried to share the slides and the things that came back. Things didn't go like that. Things didn't go like that, and things didn't go like that. In fact, at the old church in Mukwonago, when I did the service about expectations, we had a storm, and it took out a light pole across the street, and we had the power go out. So it was not quite like you might hit the cord. It's been very funny since coming back from India that it depends on what's going on in my head at the moment and the way a question is asked. Because I've found myself telling people, instead of about all of the enriching things that happened, about the couple of nights in the hotel where they ask you when you come in to accept the room. And if you accept the room, they give you the key. And you accept the room by kind of walking in and going, it's furnished, the windows close. So I tell people about the night and that, of course, wasn't one night, it was 2 nights in the same room where we had to bucket flush the toilet because it didn't work. And I've told people about the 2 nights in a different hotel where the power went out 2 nights in a row and was restored. And I took a shower in pitch darkness because I've taught a blind student, which is one of the gifts of my life, that I'm going to take a shower, I know where everything is. But there are so many things I want to tell people about India that are not those spilt milk things. But somehow conversations lead you to those weird things.
So if you can imagine me at about 10 years old, and we had, my grandparents had this summer cottage. It was cut up in northern Illinois, and we all go up, and all my cousins would go, and we were all about the same age, and we were all just destructive. It just did. And the attention-getting mechanisms, they always were goofing around. So we all go to the Catholic Mass, because we all got all dressed up every Sunday, And we all went, and they'd have to sit, we had to put adults between all the kids because we would just be passing notes and doing stupid things. Well, somehow I ended up next to my brother. And all I wanted to do was just let a little bit of that, of a fart out, just to kind of, because he was sitting right next to me, just to get him to turn. But I lost the grip. And I was dragged out of there by my ear, by my dad, and as he was smirking, because the place lit up. Of course, it was the quietest moment, something very sanctimonious. But the other the other time was when I didn't know that the lid wasn't on the salad dressing. But it was sitting in front of me, and we were all eating. We're all eating dinner, and I decided to give it a good shake. So I grabbed it, and instead of going like this, I just went shot like this, and I stopped. And it was like, and I look over, and my daughter is sitting there, and she's got a drip hanging from her hair, and my son's and it's everywhere. I'm like, What are we having for coffee and cereal?
I made it. I have a slip story. When I was, this is 1958, I was visiting, I had just finished my first year in college, and I was visiting my roommate, and he said, I met that girl previously because I was at his house. He said, she would like to take you to the senior prom at her high school. So I said, okay. So we went, and we're dancing a slow song. And all of a sudden, she grabbed me. And I thought, whoo-hoo, this is something. She said, dance slowly towards the ladies' room. And I said, why? And she said, because my slip just fell. But that's my slip story. But the real story, same era, 1950s, I bought a pair of saddle shoes. You probably maybe have seen me wear those saddle shoes. Okay, I've worn the same type of saddle shoes since 1956. So the current pair that I had were 27 years old. And it had to be black and white and a red crepe sole. So last fall, Marcia and I went out to some shindig, and I noticed when I got out of the car, the crepe soles were disintegrating. So in every place I went, I left crepe sole. And so that was my tragedy. And since that time, I can't find saddle shoes with red soles. So it's hardship. Oh, milk.
Don't cry.
No problem.
So more science sadness. I'm taking biochemistry, which is a hard class. So we have 2 quizzes a week, and if I didn't have to study so much, I'd definitely be crying.
So I have kind of a generic and a specific one. I'm a worrier, so that's kind of the general thing. And I worry about the wrong stuff. So Jeff and I had a wedding about a month ago or whatever, and I wore this dress that I hadn't worn in years. And I was very worried about the dress not fitting and the slip. I had to buy a slip, which you can't find them anymore. I should have gone to either your old girlfriend or Sally. So everything worked out fine. The dress worked out fine, but we had a flat tire. So $900 later, you don't replace just one tire nowadays, of course, with an all-wheel drive car. So the dress that I was worried about was fine, but we ended up with a flat tire. So, yep.
When our son turned 18, he got his driver's license, and I remember the first day he's driving, I was sitting in the passenger seat, half asleep. We're going down 83, and all of a sudden I hear him, oh, curse word, and I look up, and there's this deer head in the window.
My spilled milk you guys have heard about before. I've been feeding, all the animals this winter, but I've also been walking in turkey poop all winter, and I'm not liking it at all. It's okay when it's really frozen, but when it's not frozen, I have a dedicated pair of shoes now by the back door. I just have to remember to take them off when I come in so I don't go across the rug. And I have slips if anybody ever needs any slips. I have several, and just in case you want to borrow one. I keep thinking I should get rid of them, and I go, I don't do that. You never know.
Some of you may remember when our house was hit by a tornado, and we have a tri-level, so the upper part of the house is where the roof got ripped off. But our bedroom was safe. The boys' bedrooms were gone. So we put all our stuff in our bedroom, and we had like 24 hours. We had to clear everything out of the boys' rooms because they had to rip out the drywall and the roof and the ceilings, and they were going to bring in industrial drying units. So we told them, we told the contractors, we need to still be able to get into our bedroom. So can you make that possible? And they're like, yeah, we can put up this plastic that has like a zipper in it, that has like a door that you can get in and out of. We're like, awesome, cool, because we had to find a place to live, moved in with the Ram Stacks. We were on our way. And we come back that night, and we have like a vaulted ceiling. And we go and we look at the plastic that they put in, and the zipper's at the top. So we figured, we'll just rip it off the bottom to get in upstairs, and that was sort of the whole story of how our contractors were the whole time.
I'm Regina. Years and years ago when I was in nursing school, when I graduated, my husband and I had 4 kids. There were 6 and under, so it was chaos trying to go through college with 4 small kids. And we had this really weird laid out townhouse next to a business. The beautiful part is we had unlimited access to the laundromat next door after hours, so it was a golden for small kids. But I'd come down, the other thing was the cat box. The kids always found the freaking cat box, no matter what we did. So I come down one morning, exhausted because I'm just getting no sleep, going through school, and the kids are really little, and somebody poop painted the bathroom because they were toddlers. And I don't even remember which kid was like, Mom, doesn't this look good? And all I could do was cry because my day was already booked. And they were like, but doesn't it look good? I'm like, yes, honey, it looks good. Don't ever do that again. And then proceeded to have to clean up and still get to school with the kindergartner and everything else on time that day. And every one of them did it at some point in their life. But that morning I was just like, it's too much. It's too much. It's too much.
Clothing without pockets.
Okay, one more. When people misuse borrow and lend, could you please borrow me a pencil? No, I cannot. I cannot. No, yes. No.
Stop putting too much hops in beer. At some points, it's like hot sauce. It's so hot, you can't tell anything, okay? Just saying.
walking into the bathroom and the toilet seat is up. I'll put the rest in.
I should preface this that I'm originally from New York. So whatever the abomination that you all do to pizza is just wrong. It's not tic-tac-toe, folks.
Okay, auto flush toilets that end up acting like a bidet. That activate as soon as you sit down. That is gross, man. Done with that. Oh, and whoever said it's mandatory to put the toilet paper so low that you can't reach it, I'm coming for you.
Coming down? Yeah, we got another one.
You took me back to India. Does anybody here know what the toilets are like in India? Never mind. Not all being
Filmed and no.
I'll tell you later.
Well, it started with a fart joke, and then it went into the toilet. Thank you, everybody. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you didn't, it was Emma's idea. Our theme for this month, you might not guess, is justice and equity. And instead of that, we did something totally different. But you know, yesterday at this Soul Matters conversation, we had a serious conversation about justice and equity and about the work that can be done, that needs to be done, that is all out there. And everybody began with this lament about how there's so much to be done and it will never end and we can never find a justice, we can never find equity. And as the conversation progressed, we walked through our lives, how it is that we live our lives, and we came around to how this congregation lives its life. And if there's an odd leap that I can make between what we just did here in sharing our pettiest concerns, it is that the work that you do, the work that this congregation does, is the work of justice and equity. And I am just so amazed and proud of how you all respond in your own lives and in your collective lives. I think that's the lesson. So let's sing together. This is the funnest hymn that I can find in the hymnal. Die Gedanken sind frei. Please rise and bow to your spirit.
Die Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts freely flower. Die Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts give me power. No scholar can map them, no hunter can trap them, no one can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei, my thoughts are as free as wind or the ocean, and no one can see their form or their motion. No hunter can find them, no trap ever bind them. My lips may be still, but I think what I will. A glimmering fire, the darkness will brighten. My soaring desire, I'll draw
conclude, please join us for coffee and conversation down below the sanctuary in the fellowship hall. And when you go, as always, go in love, seek justice, find peace.
Get what you need. I went down to the demonstration to get my fair share of abuse, singing we are gonna vent our frustration. If we don't, we're gonna blow a 50-amp fuse. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. Can't always get what you want. If you try sometimes, you might find, you get what you need. Get what you need. Oh, I went down to the Chelsea drugstore to get your prescription filled. I was standing in line with Mr. Jimmy. The man, he did look pretty ill. Oh, we decided we would have a soda. My favorite flavor, pomegranate red. I sung my song to Mr. Jimmy, and he said one word to me that was dead. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. Can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you might find, get what you need. Oh, you get what you need. I saw her today at the reception. In her glass was a bleeding man. She was practiced got the art of deception. I could tell by your bloodstained hands. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. You can't always get what you want. If you try sometimes, you might find, you get what you need.